There is one appeal I would like to make to my Indian friends that seeing some Islamic, please do not come to the conclusion that we are becoming a fundamentalist country. India shouldn't see the whole event through the eyes of some Jamaate Islami people, being involved, some BNP people being involved. They shouldn't see it through the eyes of religion. They should see it through the eyes of democracy. Bangladesh has never been ruled for 15 continuous years unbroken. That gave us definitely a lot of stability, that gave us uninterrupted economic growth. But on the political side and on the democratic side, it has been a story of decreasing space for opposition, for dissent. The elections in 2014 extremely questionable. 2018 and finally 2024 January. Now, almost it seemed like that she had mastered the art of, if you like, manipulating election in a way.
Horrible to see what's coming out of your country. Hope you and your family are safe.
You said all good. I was saying that I wish I could say about Bangladesh at the moment.
Yeah, but I hope you and your family are safe.
Yes, we are.
Is your
Thank
daughter in London?
Yeah, my elder daughter is in London. The younger one is with me here. So listen, let's get it over with because we are running a little late. And
Sure. So, Mahfuz, let's get straight to it. So, what is the situation right now, Mahfuz? Right, what is the situation right now in Bangladesh?
well, right at the moment, it's a bit dicey. Hasina government is no longer in operation. The new interim government has not really been constituted yet. Right now, there is a sense of, if you like, a sense of vacuum and uncertainty. Because honestly speaking, we really don't know who is governing us at the moment. So that's a bit very concerning.
But what about on the streets? Are people still anything? What's happening on the streets?
No, street is very calm this morning. Lots of people are in front of the Parliament building, but not as a part of demonstration or anything. I think just curiosity. So there is generally calm here. Yesterday, we saw unfortunate violence in many districts of Bangladesh. Awami League leaders' houses, Awami League offices were set on fire. Very regrettably, some some. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some minority communities, Hindu houses were attacked. But as of this morning, we haven't heard anything from my reporters throughout Bangladesh.
Mahfuz, another thing
Yeah.
which I want to ask is that, there's a lot of people who say this protest could be because many in Bangladesh felt that this was not an elected government because the other parties boycotted the elections. Is it a kind of a reaction, or they managed to get so much momentum because of that?
Well, there are two ways of, I mean, the story has to be segmented. One is Sheikh Hasina's continued rule for 15 years. Remember, no government ever ruled Bangladesh for 15 continuous years. So, as I said, the story has to be segmented. One is the rule. Bangladesh has never been ruled for 15 continuous years unbroken. That gave us definitely a lot of stability, that gave us uninterrupted economic growth, many things, because Bangladesh used to be quite plagued by what is known as hartal and this and that. So she had really undisturbed regime of 15 years. Economic growth has been quite impressive. But on the political side and on the democratic side, it has been a story of decreasing space for opposition, for dissent, and more and more oppressive rules. And what was very sad is that after getting elected in 2008 in a landslide, her her government really, I don't know why, she seemed to have lost confidence or something. She started manipulating the election. the elections in 2014, extremely questionable, 2018, and finally 2024 January. Now, almost it seemed like that she had mastered the art of, if you like, manipulating election in a way, and she got away in 2014 and 18 and 24. So, I mean, she seemed to have come to the conclusion that, I can rig elections in a way that I can get away with it. And so more and more, the regime became, if you like, non-accountable for anything. So this was, if you like, the political scene. And internally, Awami League as a party lost all its functionality, all its, like hierarchy within the party, really lost their voices and their role, and it became totally one person party, and as such, one person government. Now, when you concentrate so much power in your hand, you are definitely likely to antagonize a lot of people, make a lot of mistakes, and things like that. So, this is the one segment of the story. But coming to the crisis, handling the student movement was another absolutely disastrous, inexplicable. A party like Awami League, which has just celebrated its 75th year, and a party that has been a part of democratic movements from the time of Pakistan. It was the leading party in our liberation war, and so many credentials to itself, seems to have totally lost touch with the people because of this election manipulation capacity. They seem to have become totally non-answerable. So when the student movement started, it was really a very small movement asking for quotas in the administration. The way it was handled was total arrogance. And then suddenly, there was a governmental narrative that whenever there's something anti-government, it is either promoted by BNP or promoted by Jamaat. It is never a public expression. Now, this narrative may be politically convenient, but I think over time, they became a victim of this narrative themselves. So when these students were, making movement and it was getting larger and larger, that narrative came into play. Even this, for about a year, this demand has been going on till the 15th of July. I can even specify the date. Till 15th of July, it was peaceful. Then on the 15th of July, the Awami League General Secretary said that our student wing, Chhatra League, is enough to handle this. So this was like a signal for their party goons to really come down and hit hard on the students. So that is the day when violence started. And over the years, we have seen that police and the student wing of Awami League really joined hands in suppressing all sorts of dissenting movements. And there were quite a few, interestingly led by students. There was a movement by school students once because of frequent road accidents. So many people, when the students were dying, so the students came down to the street and they were quite brutally sort of suppressed. So from 15th of July, really still this thing got violent. First day, there were 6 dead. Second day, I think about 28. Third day, figure went up. One day it went to 66. Then it came down. So ultimately, within a matter of just a week, we have had, at least conservatively speaking, 200 students. And in our countries, as in India, there are so many people in the street, vendors, hawkers and all that. So together about 200. That was the conservative estimate by my paper. And we went along with hospital record, morgue records, and family accounts. But popularly, it is said death is much higher. It is 500, all sorts of figures around. But we have written about 204. Other newspapers wrote about 212, 15, something like that. So let us take the conservative figure of 200. Now, never in the history of Bangladesh, and I doubt if it is in the history of subcontinent, that within a matter of 1 week, a civilian government through the police, and we have another force called Rapid Action Battalion. And then we have another force called Bangladesh Border Guards, BGB. Now, they're supposed to be guarding our borders. They were called in the aid of civil government. Now, these people maybe were very trigger happy. They were trained to kill, because they are border guards. So the deaths in the streets just reached all maddening proportion. Now, by this time, government had accepted all the quota demands of the students. So the government was saying that, look, we have accepted all your demands. Why are you still in the street? By that time, the fact that 200 plus people have been killed had totally transformed the psyche of the students and the general public. And that, and the government's continuous narrative that this is politically motivated, political forces are using the shoulder of the students to have their own agenda, which could be true. I'm not denying it. And it is I think it is in subcontinent that when opposition parties look for a chance to harass the government, any public demonstration, they try and take advantage of it. So maybe our political parties did. But fundamentally, it was a student-led movement, which I think government totally miscalculated, misunderstood, misinterpreted, and therefore their actions were almost like shooting themselves in the foot.
Like, right, Mahfuz, you said it's a student-led movement, absolutely student-led movement. But how do the people of Bangladesh, whether it's the opposition party or the public at large, how do they view India's role in this, or any message for India at this point of time?
Now, listen, my appeal to my Indian friends would be, and to the Indian government, that please do not look it in through the lenses of Bangladesh opposition parties and they're taking advantage. It could be true, but try and see it through the eyes of millions of students who were students and public who were on the street. The reason for they being in the street is the first segment of what I told you, the rule of the last 15 years. With every year, it turned more oppressive and more unaccountable. I mean, truly, as you know, in our part of the world, when government is unaccountable, the institutions become their own monsters. So police, for example, they started, harassing people and taking bribes. Now, we have I don't know, this is a British legacy or not. Say, suppose there is a violence, say 1 people or 5 people dead, or there is a burning of the bus by opposition. So the police practice is that the case is made against 15 known people. They put names A, B, C, D, and 500 unknown and unidentified criminals. So that unknown, unidentified criminal becomes the police's asset. So they go to houses and say, you pay us X amount of money, otherwise your name will be put in the list, because it's unidentified. Now, I will not say that the government directly was involved in all this, but when you have an unaccountable system, I mean, in the last 15 years, there has not been any significant person, a businessman or a high-level police official or a high-level bureaucrat, taken to court for corruption or abuse of power or anything. It was well-known fact that if something happens in your area, and if you go to the local police station and want to lodge a case, and if the case happened to be against a local Awami League leader, the Thana will not accept the case. And this has been going on for years. So people joining in is the accumulated grievance part. But student being as they were in the street were more out of the way. They were actually indiscriminately fired upon.
You did mention that, Mahfuz. I got one more question before I hand it over to my colleagues. You just mentioned that, but you said through a prism, and earlier in a conversation to me, you said this is a fight for democracy. Do you still
Yes.
say it's that?
Yes, yes. And it is a fight for democracy. It is a fight for accountable government. However, I will not rule out that some political elements may take advantage, some religious elements may take advantage. This is quite possible, but that is not the main focus. And so I would say that India should not, I mean, India will have all its concerns, and which is quite acceptable and respected. But India shouldn't see the whole event through the eyes of some Jamaate Islami people, being involved, some BNP people being involved. They shouldn't see it through the eyes of religion. They should see it through the eyes of democracy.
So what next for Bangladesh? How do you see the situation evolving in the next couple of days?
Okay, now okay, I have forgotten to mention one thing. The students' leadership of the movement has been quite incredible. I mean, the spontaneity of it all, they're able to coordinate throughout Bangladesh on WhatsApp or on Facebook groups, to prevent which government shut down the internet and the social media for various days just to disconnect them. But still, they maintain, and it was all done through peaceful means. After let's say, the fall of the Hasina government, even till yesterday, their press briefing was, in my view, so matured. They said that this is a chance to rebuild Bangladesh. So departure of, in their language, a dictatorial regime is our first victory. Now it is chance to reconstruct the country in a more democratic and freedom speaking. They talked about freedom of the press, right to dissent, and all these things. Very matured comments. So this is the overall picture. But as to your question, that what do I see tomorrow or day after, these are a bit concerning moments, because as of now, as I speak with you, I really cannot say where is the government, who do I go to, if there is something, will the police come in, who is commanding the police, who is commanding the RAF forces. There is no home minister at the moment. There is, in a sense, there is a vacuum there. And there is the president, whose statement as of yesterday has been quite vague. There is the army chief, whose statement was quite laudable but not specific. So this morning, today, we are Tuesday, and now we are at 1:45. Who is governing Bangladesh right now is something a bit uncertain and therefore concerning.
One more follow-up question to that, as about the future of Bangladesh. Also, what about the future of Sheikh Hasina and also the Awami League? How do you look at that?
Well, Awami League is a highly respected traditional party. They lost the plot, honestly speaking. They lost the plot. They really lost their touch with the grassroots. They are at the moment a very, very discredited party. But if enough, good people come back together and revive, I think Awami League is a party of great tradition. They can form the party. I mean, the popular concept is that we all loved Bangabandhu's Awami League, but we do not love Sheikh Hasina's Awami League. This, I think, is a dramatic expression of the inner story of how progressively Awami League became detached with the people. Sheikh Hasina's future, her son has announced that she has no interest in continuing politics. According to her son, that she will spend the rest of her life looking after her children and grandchildren and all that.
So coming back to India, how do you see India's role changing from first saying that it's an internal matter for Bangladesh, and today we had, Sheikh Hasina coming into New Delhi? How do you see the role really changing, and did India really react appropriately through this entire and been on the same page?
Okay. First of all, let me say as a veteran editor of a newspaper that relationship with India is very important. And we all recognize it. And we also know, and I personally believe, that strong relationship with India is necessary for future of Bangladesh. Now, I would say India would make a mistake if India looks at the whole recent event through the narrative of Sheikh Hasina personally or through that of Awami League. There is a bigger narrative to which India must listen to and look at. The relationship must be between the state and the people, not between one government and another. Obviously, the overall impression in Bangladesh is that India has been a great supporter of Sheikh Hasina's government, which is fine. You are supporting the government of the day, but I think India did not pay enough attention to the bigger picture. India didn't really have links with parties or people beyond the Awami League narrative. And as Awami League's narrative became narrower and narrower and narrower, perhaps, I'm not certain about it, India's also view became quite, focused on only one party.
So would you say, Mahfuz, that India put all its eggs in one basket?
Well, that how it. See, I'm just an editor. I don't know about the inner mechanics of government and diplomacy and all that. But from the outside, it did appear to be so. I mean, there is one appeal I would like to make to my Indian friends and even to you, Riyadh, and other journalist friends, is that seeing some Islamic, if you like, manifestation, please do not come to the conclusion that we are becoming a fundamentalist country. This is a Muslim majority country. And there are very, very devoted Muslims. They believe in the religion. They go to the mosque 5 times a day. Now, that shouldn't define their whole world view. That should not define that they are part of a extremist group or something. I mean, please, now this is my appeal to all of you, that if India can become Hindu without becoming, if you like, non-secular, then why can't Bangladesh become a little towards, accepting their Muslim heritage without being looked at with apprehension that this is going to be terrorist or it is going to be an extremist country and something like that. There is a huge segment of Muslim religion practicing citizens of Bangladesh who I think believe in a very close relationship with India. They're proud of their Muslim identity, just as a Hindu is proud of their Hindu identity. And there is no religion-based, if you like, dynamics in the interstate relation. And that, I think, India perhaps is a bit too sensitive sometimes when they see a lot of people with, topis and, beard and going to mosque. My God, oh my God, Bangladesh is going in this one direction. That, I think, has been a perception that guided India's thinking that should, I think, slightly be moderated.
What about the safety and security of Indian assets in Bangladesh?
I think there is, at the moment, there is absolutely no threat. I haven't heard of any Indian, factories or business establishment being there. I don't think so. And there is a huge, built-in, what should I say, agenda of Bangladeshi businessmen doing business with Indian businessmen. I mean, that sector has grown enormously.
So when we're talking of students and the opposition, as you mentioned rightly, do join the protest arena when it starts. So you have these forces. Do you also see the role of foreign powers or any kind of other forces who are also coming in now? Or is there apprehension around it?
Honestly speaking, it has really not been an agenda for discussion. Nobody has raised that America is involved or India is involved or China is involved. Perhaps you sitting where you are more concerned about the geopolitics. But at the moment, we are more concerned about democratizing our own society.
Of course, Mahfuz, valid point that we said, but you as an editor, do you have any news saying that there could be some involvement from Pakistan or China in any way?
Pakistan, I mean, listen, all countries trying to be involved, it's not unknown. Okay, in India, Pakistan may be involved or China may be involved. So in Bangladesh, since I'm not in the government or heading an intelligence body, I cannot say yes or no. But believe me, as I run my newspaper, I don't see any Indian involvement or Chinese involvement or American involvement. But you can interpret. For example, America has welcomed the change in the situation. So you can interpret, oh, America must be behind it. India hasn't said anything as of now, so India is unhappy about it. I am not there. You can say I'm being a bit naive or something, but as I run my newspaper, I don't have reasons to either write an editorial about foreign intervention or make a report about it based on facts on the ground.
The only reason why I asked that question, Mahfuz, is because we did know that, whether, Sheikh Hasina is going to be closer to India or closer to China, and the fact that she was much more close to India. That's why I asked the question. And I know you hold no political thing, but as an editorial thing, do you see anything of Pakistan or China or Pakistan?
Yeah, but my comment here would be that I sincerely hope and urge that Indian leadership and Indian journalists take a very deep look into what Bangladesh is. I mean, it is a country of 80+% Muslims. Globally, there is a rise of Islam. So you can see more mosques in Dhaka, more mosques around Bangladesh. Please do not associate this with the rise of anti-Indianism or extremism. There is, I mean, Bangladesh is a rising country, a maturing country, a country which has learned from its own experience. And I think we have all learned that good relationship with India is good for Bangladesh. However, your attitude also will determine. Now, if you are suspicious of this student-led movement, as of now, I am quite convinced that it was based on issues of Bangladesh's importance, not driven by any foreign country or instigated by them. That is where I am at the moment. But it is a fluid situation. And you never know. I mean, in the coming days or weeks, some maneuvering may take place. But at the moment, I'm quite confident that we are steady on our own.
So you, I mean, from what you said, you suggest it is suggestive of the fact that this entire developments, the movement is perhaps an organic one. But I just know you mentioned a very interesting date, July 15th.
Yes.
So on July 13th, Sheikh Hasina was in China and she had to cut down her China visit and returned to Dhaka a day earlier, apparently upset with over Beijing's failure to fulfill its promise of financial support. And yes, the appropriate protocol was not given to her. So it implies that Hasina's objectives were not met. So was this twist in the relationship between the two countries an indicator of the things to come, perhaps?
China is not that powerful in Bangladesh. Please, they may give us some good aid, but no, these students are not driven by any agenda of China or of America or India. That is my very firm belief.
But commercially, China has a lot of interest in Bangladesh. If, for example, your textile factories, apparel, China has, which is Bangladesh's main, export, and so It's
There are, excuse me, there are more Indian garments factory owners sitting in Dhaka than there are Chinese. So yes, China is a good partner in RMG. So is India. I mean, huge presence of Indian garment industry representatives in Dhaka. Many of them are located in Dhaka because their business has been so good. So I think in a way we have managed quite well. And here, let me say something to which I give Sheikh Hasina a lot of credit. I've written it before, I've said it before, that before Sheikh Hasina's current tenure, the pattern used to be that if we were if Awami League was in power, we were totally pro-India. If BNP was in power, we were totally pro-Chinese. Hasina was the first leader who was able to manage it both. She could take our relationship with India to a very high level, becoming a very close partner and a trusted friend of India. But she also developed our relationship with China a lot, and it went quite well. As a Bangladeshi editor, I used to give her a lot of credit for this balance between the two giants. And actually, Bangladesh's future is a good relationship between these two economic giants of Asia.
as you just pointed out a bit, the Ulfa insurgency in northeast India was crushed primarily due to proactive measures by the Hasina government.
Absolutely.
And do you think a new regime would perhaps encourage separatist elements
Please,
from northeast
I mean,
India?
you are letting your imagination go too far. I mean, listen, we are concerned about what's going to happen tomorrow, and you are linking up with Ulfa possibility. I mean, please wait and watch. I don't think Bangladesh will go there at all because it's not good for Bangladesh.
Because we understand that a lot of for example Lai insurgents from the Kuki-Chin group from Mizoram and from Manipur, they in CHT they do have armed training camps and all, and they have been talking about a greater carving. You must have heard about it. Carving out a greater homeland for people of the Chin origin, people Christians largely. So
we have heard about it, and we are very worried about it, and you can rest assured that we will do everything to protect our sovereignty. And definitely helping Ulfa is not going to strengthen our sovereignty. So yes, this border is there, Myanmar, and also there's a lot of global interest, unhealthy interest, which is against the interest of Bangladesh and I think also of India. So we are all committed to keeping this particular region as far from international interference as possible. Bangladesh wants its border. If you the way we treated the Rohingyas so far, I think it has been quite, besides the economic burden, Bangladesh has been very, very matured in handling the Rohingyas, the humanitarian side, the strategic side. But the global reality, the geopolitical reality is something we are watching very carefully. And at this moment, I do not think that whatever changes has occurred in Bangladesh will have a geopolitical impact. That's not the target at all of this movement or change in power. Hasina would have, I think, could have continued in power if she just governed better.
Can I ask one last question?
Please.
And I'll have one question after you, Aziz. One last one after you. Yeah, go ahead.
It's about Begum Khalida Zia. We heard that she's being released from prison.
Yes.
So what next for her, and what could be the role for the BNP? Will the party can step in and fill the vacuum?
I think as a political party, they will definitely want. So the idea is to have an election, free and fair, as far as free and fair as possible, which was not possible under Hasina. And then we will let the people of Bangladesh basically express their views through the election. As a democratic country, that is how we will progress. So the focus, as an editor, I would really emphasize on a free and fair election. and all the parties competing.
Mahfuz, I think you answered half my question with that answer, but you had said earlier about, to my colleague, let's wait and watch, right? As a citizen of Bangladesh, when you wait and watch, what would you want to be the final outcome, and how fast do you want it?
Yes. Now, listen, this is my personal opinion. One of the things that has truly hurt me, depressed me, is the failure of the political leadership, all political leadership, Awami League, BNP, and all, to strengthen political institutions. Now, we got a chance in 1971 when we became liberated. Then tragedies happened, Bangabandhu was assassinated, and we got military intervention. Then through public demonstration, peaceful public demonstration, we toppled Ershad. And we got a chance to rebuild the country in 91. From 91 till today, just look at the sadness that we shunted out a military dictator, brought democracy back, and now today we are handing over flower bouquets to the military to bring Bangladesh back to democracy. I mean, what can be more dramatic than this symbolism of the failure of political leaders? We quarreled. I mean, from 91 till that day, BNP Awami League just quarreled with each other. Then when Hasina came to power for the last 15 years, she just didn't allow any space to BNP. So the political culture was maligned, was weakened. Parliament as an institution was not allowed to function. There was no opposition in the parliament. It was just literally one-party rule. So parliament as an institution was absolutely not allowed to flourish. Judiciary as an independent body was not allowed to flourish. Bureaucracy and police were all becoming partisan. So really, I think our first priority should be political reforms. Elected representatives being allowed to play their role. Parliament becoming as an institution of really policy making. So bureaucracy getting their own, sort of space. Police not becoming a party tool. These are the reforms we really urgently need, and believe me, we need them if Bangladesh is to flourish. Now, again, Hasina regime had given us a lot of economic, growth. But here, this is like my metaphor that, you go to the gym and build your muscles, have a good diet and look quite handsome or beautiful, but you have not checked your blood sugar. You have not found out whether you are getting diabetes. You have not tried to find out whether your cholesterol level is so high that you're clotting your heart, and suddenly you have a heart attack. But you look good. You look handsome because your muscles are all built. Now, what I'm trying to say is that the comprehensive approach to the economic health was not taken by Hasina. She loved making, big projects, which we needed. The Podda Bridge was absolutely a very essential items, but many other investments. Infrastructure building was necessary, laudable, but at the same time, like in our education system, the quality of education has gone down. Our school students, college students, university graduates are now falling behind in the global competition. Our health structure, public health. I mean, while we built the metro rail, which is again laudable, our normal roads have been sort of, full of potholes. Chittagong as a city, our biggest port city, becomes totally inundated with just 1 or 2 days of heavy rain. And this has been going on for years. Thousands of crores of taka has been spent. Now, banking, our banks have been looted. So, yes, we have had progress, but there are some fundamental. Now, banking is something that we really need to talk about. that this whole culture of default loan, when Hasina took power, default loan is that big business take loan, then they don't pay back. Okay, they don't pay back. So when Hasina took power, our total default loan was 23,000 crore. As of now, our default loan is 1,45,000 crore. How could it happen? And these big businesses would take money, and then when it come to repay, they would not repay, and they're called non-performing loans. And when after a huge accumulation of that loan, there were amendments made to banking rules which would give them further time. And there are quite enough evidence that these loan defaulters would actually siphon off their money abroad. International agencies have reported that every year Bangladesh loses anything between $5 to $8 billion through money laundering. And there has not been any visible, effective measure taken in the last 15 years. So these are, I think, the accumulated stories that have disillusioned people against Hasina regime. And there are many examples of cronyism, of some of our very favorite business people investing billions of dollars abroad instead of investing in Bangladesh. And there has not been any accountability for that. So I would say that I'm sad that a party like Awami League has become so discredited, that a leader like Sheikh Hasina had to sort of relinquish power and leave the country that she worked for. This is really very, in my view, sad. But she made it inevitable. So at the moment, we are not so much, we are in a celebratory mood, but more in the concerning mood, that how do we now take this very small opening and build a more democratic, more stable, more matured, more successful Bangladesh.
Yes, you said celebratory but concerned. When do you see your concerns being addressed, and when do you see things back to normal? Looking out of the window right now in Bangladesh, in Dhaka right now, when do you think your concerns are going to be addressed and everything is going to be like the way people of Bangladesh want it to be?
I cannot say it right now. Yesterday I was in the celebratory mood, but today I'm in the concerning mood, because I really would like to see Bangladesh stabilize, take good decisions. I'm happy at the fact that the students have approached Professor Yunus, and from what we know so far, he has consented to be a part of the chief of this transition government. He's an extremely knowledgeable person, highly respected in Bangladesh and abroad. So as of now, if you ask me, I think that's a very good positive step.
One quick question, just last. When you're talking of rebuilding Bangladesh, any progress can't happen in isolation. We're talking of SAARC as one big family. What is the role of countries, your neighboring countries, and how do you see it helping, and who's helping? Who are your friends?
Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
I'm saying when we talk of rebuilding Bangladesh, when we talk of progress, it can't happen in isolation.
Not at all.
You are part of SAARC. How do you see your neighbors helping you rebuild your country?
I mean, listen, Bangladesh is in a very peculiar geographical situation. I mean, our neighbor practically is only one, okay? And therefore, it is very vital that we manage our relationship with India. It has to be a win-win relationship. With this friendship, Bangladesh must win, India must win. We must have a relationship that helps each of us grow together and independently. However, I would like to urge that this is our view, but I would like to urge that India understands us a little better than understanding us with a single prism.
Thank you so much, Mahfuz. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope things come back to normalcy and soon in Bangladesh. And you always wanted to come to Cochin to see our newsroom.
Yes,
The
yes.
invitation is always open. Please come anytime. Would love to host you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do pray for us because we are going through a very slippery.
Yes.
Always there for you, Mahfuz.
Bye. Bye. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.